What's up, everybody? It's Joel with Real Broker, and today I'm going to give you 5 hacks to take your cold calling skills to the next level. So if you guys are ready, let's get straight to it. Number 1, authenticity over sales speak. Guys, it's time to stop sounding like the stereotypical salesperson. You know the drill. Almost every cold call starts with, "Hello, how are you doing today?" But let's be honest, that's just a filler. Neither you nor the prospect truly care, and it's just a scripted courtesy. It's time to change the script, and instead of launching into a long, lengthy, jargon-filled monologue that even you struggle to understand, let's make it more human. Let's make it more you. And here's how. The very first thing you got to do is you got to scrap the old robotic greetings. Try something more genuine and something specific to this situation. For more tips on this in specific, check out the channel as I've done plenty of opening scripts. You got to avoid industry jargon. You got to speak plainly. Imagine like you're talking to a 5th grader. You got to be clear and you got to be direct. And finally, you have to embrace pattern interrupts. These are unexpected elements in your conversation that break up the prospect's autopilot response. Instead of asking for permission in the usual way, like, "Is now a good time to talk?" You got to flip the script and say something along the lines like, "Hey, I know this call is unexpected. I was hoping to ask a quick question about 123 Main Street, if that's okay with you, if you're in the real estate industry specifically." These strategies create a more authentic connection that show you understand their challenges and demonstrate you value their time. This approach is not about selling, it's about starting real conversations. Number 2, the power of focused calling sessions. Think of cold calling as a game of rhythm, similar to shooting hoops in basketball. Success relies on consistency, right? The key is time blocking. Without it, you're just making sporadic calls, things that are interspread with distractions like doing things in your CRM, checking your emails, or even playing your fantasy football league. This approach scatters your focus and really just sabotages your overall effectiveness. Here's what you should do instead. Dictate specific blocks of time exclusively for cold calling. For example, block an hour in your calendar where your sole focus is on only making calls. No emails, no slacking, no distractions, just you and the phone. This is a focused hour. If you're dialing manually, you can make upwards of 40 phone calls depending on the length of conversation. If you're on an auto dialer, you could have upwards of 10 conversations per hour, again, depending on the substance and the depth of each conversation. This concentrated effort will allow you to build momentum and get into a groove. You'll find yourself getting better and better with each call, just like a basketball player finds their rhythm after several shots. The reason this method works so well is that it turns cold calling into a disciplined practice rather than a hit or miss task. You're giving yourself space to fully engage with each call, learn from it, and immediately apply that learning to the next call, all within a focused time frame. Remember, in these blocks, your phone is your instrument, and each call is a chance to hit the right note. The more you practice this focused approach, the more natural and effective your calls will become. It's about creating rhythm and getting into a groove that works for you, keeping the energy high, and maintaining a steady pace that will ultimately lead to a more meaningful conversation with successful outcomes. Number 3, metrics matter. You got to track your performance. To transform your cold calling into successful conversions and metrics, you need to become a scientist of your own sales process. This means meticulously tracking various statistics to help really understand exactly where you're losing the prospect in the phone call. Is it during the opening? Is it during the pitch? Is it during the closing phase? Without this data, you're essentially navigating in the dark, unaware of specific areas that, might need some improvement. Here's a breakdown of some, not all, critical stats that you should be tracking. Number 1, number of dials. Record every dial you make. This number provides a baseline for assessing your overall call activity. Number 2, the conversations and contacts. How many of these dials are resulting in actual conversations with the proper people? This stat is crucial for evaluating the effectiveness of your opening lines and your ability to engage the prospect. Number 3, bad numbers. This keeps track of incorrect or non-functional numbers, and this helps you assess the quality of your contact data. High bad number rates may indicate that you might need to improve your data sourcing. Number 4, this is my favorite, dollars per dial. Calculate the revenue generated per dial. Even if a call does not lead to a sale directly, understanding its monetary value can help in assessing the overall effectiveness of your cold calling efforts. And we all know chances are they'll probably say no. So we need to figure out a way to monetize the no, and this will help you keep track of that. Number 5, appointments set. Monitor how many calls it's required to result in an appointment. This metric is a direct indicator of your success in moving the prospect down the sales funnel. Number 6, listings taken. For those of you in real estate or similar sectors, tracking the number of listings you secure, this stat reflects the effectiveness and your overall pitch and, of course, your closing skills. Number 7, emails gathered. Record the number of emails you collect during calls. This is a valuable metric in building your database for future marketing and nurturing campaigns. And this is my best method of doing business, my favorite. By diligently monitoring these statistics, you gain valuable insights into your performance. This data-driven approach allows you to identify patterns and understand where you excel, and more importantly, pinpoint the areas where you need to improve. Over time, this methodical tracking will lead to a more refined calling techniques, better conversions, and an increased conversion rate that lead to meaningful meetings and ultimately contracts signed. Number 4, you have to experiment and evolve. The key to mastering cold calls is the continuous experimentation and refinement. This method is particularly crucial when you're starting out or whenever you're trying to enhance your calling strategy. Start with an opener of your choice. For instance, you choose an opener and use it consistently for 500 calls or conversations, and then you meticulously record how effective this opener is, leading to a more in-depth pitch. Are the prospects engaging? Are they quick to end the phone call? Once you've implemented these calls, switch to a different opener, make another 500 calls, and track the same metric. Compare the results and see which opener led to a more meaningful conversation. Suppose the second opener provides more effectiveness. In that case, adopt it for the next 6 months. However, don't stop there. The market evolves, so should your approach. After 6 months, experiment with a new opener and stay relevant and engage. This keeps your routine fresh and prevents it from becoming boring, which is crucial when you're making hundreds of calls a day for hours a day. But don't limit this to what you would call A/B testing, just your openers. Apply the strategy to every aspect of your cold calling framework, from the way you introduce yourself to how you pitch and eventually how you close the conversation. This process is not just about improving call responses. It's about building a more effective, dynamic approach that leads to better conversations, more meaningful meetings, and ultimately an increase in sales. With each iteration, you refine your technique, making your calls more compelling and your sales strategy more robust. And last but not least, number 5, the art of practicing, warming up before you dial. In the world of sales, especially cold calling, preparation is not just beneficial, it's essential. Imagine this. Every morning before you even think about picking up the phone for your first call, you've engaged in a focused session of role playing. This is not just a routine, it's a vital warm-up that primes you for your success. Skipping this step, you're just not doing yourself a service, and in fact, you're also shortchanging your potential clients. Let's face it, cold calling opportunities are rare and precious. Most of the time, you're going to leave a message, get voicemails, or have nobody that answers. So when you do get a live person on the line, you need to be more than just ready. You need to be in peak form. This readiness comes from rigorous practice. For example, go through common objections like I'm not interested. Do that multiple times with your role play partner or fellow salesperson. By the time you're on an actual call, you've already navigated through these objections numerous of times and they won't throw you off of your game. Think of cold calling similar to sports. Consider a professional basketball player. They don't just walk onto the field without thorough preparation. They've watched game film, they've practiced plays, they've warmed up. And as a salesperson, your warm-up is role-playing. It sharpens your reflexes and hones your responses. And really, it ultimately ensures that you're mentally agile enough to handle any curveball that might be thrown your way. This approach transforms your cold calls from a mundane task into a strategic exercise where each call is an opportunity to apply your practice skill. It's not just about making calls, it's about making each call count. When you're well prepared, every conversation becomes a chance to impress, persuade, and progress rather than just, another dial in your day. Remember, sales is like a sport. The best performers are always best preparers. Now, guys, these aren't just tips, they're game changers for your cold calling routine. I work with a lot of people in the industry and I tell them to do these things over and over and over, but they don't do it, so they don't progress. Try them out and see the difference for yourself. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to check out, the other cold calling scripts that I have on the channel. Thanks for tuning in, and here is to elevating your cold calls.